Hi guys, it's Emily from Noble Novels and welcome to today's video. This is my 2024 wrap up. Now it's not going to be a long one, so enjoy it. You would have known how long it is before I do. I'm going to talk about my stats for the month, for the year. I'm going to talk about some of my favourite books and my favourite, not very much my favourite books, favourite series a little bit. I am doing a video coming up at some point this month about my series updates. I know they don't do very well, but I like making those videos. I thought I would actually, because obviously a lot of my facts you're going to be able to see on Storygraph, because that's the predominant thing I use now. So I will say I will link my Storygraph channel. It is under Noble Novels, easy enough to find. But I thought I might actually, once I've given you the stats, look through my little journal. This is my friend's book. Excuse me. So, and I've got all of my reading, my BookTube Planet and stats for the year, and I've got the plans for next year, but you're not going to see those for this year. Sorry. Excuse me. I will talk a little bit about the life stuff and what 2024 was like. So it is going to be a little bit of a chatty video as well, because I thought actually why don't I include that? 2024, as you all know, was a bit of a hard year. I will go into that obviously at different points, but let's have a look at the stats, shall we? Right, okay, some of them are a bit sort of scary. So I thought I would tell you first of all my January 2024 unread books TBR. So the unread TBR for the show. January 2024 unread TBR number was 317 books. January 2025 unread TBR was 289 books. So my unread TBR only went down by 28 books last year, in a year. But I'm okay with that. A lot of that has to do with the fact that I've started reading a lot more books from my library. I read 3 books from the library every month. That's my allowance. That's fine. And I also reread books. So that is also going to affect my stats. And maybe I kind of did buy a bit too many, but I'll talk about that in a minute. This is the number that will surprise you. I read a total of 412 books in total last year. Now, according to my Storygraph, it was 407. So there is a 5 book that I don't know why those numbers didn't kind of add over. But I will go, the 412 is from this. So obviously my book journal counts up how many books I physically read. I write down the physical books on there, and so sometimes that's maybe not transferred over to this. So I don't know quite why, but this is the Bible. This is the bit that actually tells me what I've exactly read. This is the number that I'm a bit ouchy on. I kind of bought 269 books last year. Ouchie. I was also gifted 109. So if you add that together, that is 478 books. No, 378 books. So actually, 378 books I bought, and I read 412. So I didn't do that badly. That's probably why the numbers... I did unhaul some books off my unread TBR, but I'm not going to go into that. That number's in there. Maybe I should have counted that up. I really should have, shouldn't I? Do that at some point. So those were books that I either DNF'd or I tried very shortly and didn't like. So I did unhaul some books off my shelves that way. But I'm happy with that. My unread TBR, 289 books. Considering that 289 books is counting the fact that I went up by 8 books last month because of December. Obviously, I gained like 36 books in December. So that, to be honest, 289 isn't bad. That number will dip, hopefully, a bit more this month, because this month I've not really bought very many books. I'm saying that and it's like the 8th, and I've kind of bought like 8 books. But I don't know how I'm going to do. I know that I read a lot more books last year because of the fact that last year was a bloody tough year. Like we said. We all know that. So what do? When life gets shit, I read. Sorry about the swearing. But when life gets shit, I read. In some ways, even though I've read quite a lot, I've actually had more time that I've done other things. So I have started to watch more TV shows with Chris in the evening. So I'm reading less in the evenings because I'm giving Chris that time. I've started playing table pool with Thomas, doing more things with the kids. So even though I am reading a lot, I might read less this year because I do want to do more with the children. I want to do, even though they're getting older. So Mia doesn't want to do as much with me now because she's like nearly 13, and we have our girly night once every Tuesday, and we do that. That's been a big thing this last year, really focusing on doing things like that with her. I do baking with Thomas, although I need to get a new whisk because that went tits up this week. I do more things with him because he's had extra needs that have come up this last year, and he needs me to do more fun things with him, and I want him to have my attention. You know, I want the kids, both of them, to get my attention. I want to be able to give Chris more time. I am going out a bit more with my sisters, and guess who's popped in to say hello? Sweet, come over here. Come over here. You're getting a cat in it. And obviously this little girl needs a bit more attention. So, although I've read a lot last year, I may read, hopefully, there'll be less stress in 2025 and I'll read less. So, let's go on to the genres. And you've got a cat on you. I read one poetry book, one fiction book, one dystopic book. You can tell I don't really like those. One horror book. I think that was my Evelyn Jones one. I think I even know that one. 3 graphic novels, which isn't bad. I am liking a bit more of those. Might try and read a few more graphic novels. 3 sci-fis. Now that surprises me. I didn't expect that I read that many sci-fis, but I am actually enjoying that a little bit more now. 4 thrillers. That number's gone down considerably, but I am separating thrillers and mysteries now. So 4 thrillers, to be honest, that number might even go down even more because I'm not enjoying thrillers at all. This number surprises me as well. 5 literary fiction books. I don't normally like literary fiction. I don't know if Tomorrow's literary fiction or what was, but I think, and I proved myself that I could like that, so maybe I might like more literary fiction now. What's happening to me? 10 mysteries. Those 10 mysteries do not count Agatha Christie's because Agatha counts as classics. But I am liking more cosy mysteries. Now that is down to Berna and a few other great subscribers that have got me into mysteries. 27 non-fiction books. Again, I think that number's gone down over the last year, but again, that's fine. I'm okay with that. I do like to read, at least that's like double, that's about 2 a month. That's fine with that. I'm fine with that. 35 classics. Again, I think that number's gone down, but again, I'm not going to stress with that. The number that's gone up has been fantasies. I've read 55 fantasies last year, and that number I want to go up more next year, into this year, sorry. 2025, I really want to read more fantasy because I've definitely got into that. Who am I and what have you done with me? That's down to you, Kat from Brews and Reviews, you, Jack from Spread Book Joy, and you, Gemma Books, and also Chatty. They're the people who've got me into fantasy. I'm not going to link their channels. You all know who they are. They're like my best friends, some of them. I've read 113 historical fiction. Now that has definitely gone down last year because I'm not necessarily gravitating that. I think where I would gravitate more to that than fantasy, I'm now gravitating more to fantasy if I'm not reading contemporary. Because I do like to have contemporaries on the go with something else. So whether that's fantasy or historical fiction, I think that's what number's gone down. Hopefully though, I have bought some really good historical fiction recently. So hopefully that number will go up. But obviously the top genre for one of my crappiest years ever has been contemporary. I read 152 contemporaries. Again, I am not surprised by that. When I am feeling low, I go with comfort. And comfort for me this last year has been contemporary, although partially fantasy. But contemporary is my go-to. They don't get high star ratings. Not very many of them. I think maybe only one of them was on my favourites for the year. But they are sugar. I don't eat very much sweets, so my sugar is my cosy books. And that's fine. You all know my favourite book of the year. A few of those of you that linked it, I will try and remember to link it down below because I'm filming this before that video goes up. Was the Women by Kristin Hannah, although that was only my favourite right at the very end. So my favourite before that for the year was Brotherless Night. That was the one that amazed me, surprised me. I bought my own physical copy after borrowing it from the library. Two of my favourite series from last year were the Bridgerton series and Heroes of Olympus. They were amazing series. Obviously, I will talk more about the series in my stats video, in my series catch-up video, which is the next one. My most read authors according to Storygraph are Rick Riordan, obviously because I read Heroes of Olympus and I read most of the Trials of Apollo, which I've not really enjoyed. Jessica Redland, I read a whole of the Hedgehog Hollow series of hers last year, and one that makes me smile is Agatha Christie, and that will again be a number that will be an author that will be very high next year because the Agatha Alice project. I will do the Agatha Alice live. It's just life is taking a bit of a manic turn, so I need to talk to people that are going to host that with me and sort out that. But that project is still ongoing. Please message me how you're doing on the Agatha Alice project. I'm hoping I'm doing our friend proud and really enjoying the Agatha. My average star rating for the year was 4.2 on Storygraph. Storygraph is brilliant. I've literally totally changed over to that. I will only now use Goodreads for books that I'm reviewing for like book tours or tandem book things or anything like that. That will be the only way I'll use Goodreads now because it's making my life easier. And that's also, it's more manageable. Not having to write reviews for every book is definitely more manageable. My highest rating month of the year was June, and I got 4.3 rating. Not much higher. I think I'm surprised that June was higher than December, but that's what Storygraph said. My lowest rating month was October at 4.05. I think Victober unfortunately had a bit of an impact on that because Victober classics don't do as well for me. And I think I'm going to be a bit more careful this October that I will be reading classics that I really want to read and just be a bit more careful with that. But I've also, the highest page rating read month was October. So obviously the big classics, and maybe big books don't work, I don't know. Now, before I do the lifey bits, let's look through this journal. So, in January, it was the last year that I did the Past and Future redesign. I didn't want to do that this year, but not just because of losing Alice. I really wanted to focus on my own stuff. But I did a few buddy reads. I did listen to more audiobooks. I will get back into doing audiobooks, and I do need to include those in my wrap-up. Everyone always tells me to, but I always feel because it's not coming off my shelf, why do I include it? And I don't count it as my books read, which again I should do. Like in January, I've literally just finished Queen Bee by Juno Dawson. I need you to tell you guys that, don't I? January, I didn't get gifted as many books, but I got bought a lot more. I unhauled 4 books off my under TBR that month. I read quite a few series books. And my favourite book of the year, the 2 favourite books of the year of that month didn't actually count in my favourite books of the year. That's interesting. I'm not going to go on to that. February, I had quite a few group reads. I was gifted more books than I bought in February. And again, I unhauled 7 off my Amro TBR. Blimmin' heck. I don't know what I was doing. I was obviously going on a big cull. I do need to do... This month I will try and go look at my shelves again. I think I'm going to do a bit of a shelf changing because I've got to get rid of some of my red books. Again, my 2 favourite books of the month weren't on my favourites of the year. No, actually, Atlas, the Story of Parcel. I think that was on my favourites for the year. If it wasn't, it should have been. Because that was a book I bloody loved. That was really close. I only listened to one audio, but that's fine. Let's look for March. Let's look at what March was like, shall we? So March, I'll tell you what, I was really interested in The Crimson Petal and White. That surprised me a lot more. Oh, yep. The favourite book, I had Destroy the Day, which was on my classics and my favourites. I read The Maiden, which was one of the Women's Prize books, but that didn't go on my favourites for the year. But I really did enjoy that. I listened to Again Rachel by Marian Keyes, and obviously this year I'm reading that whole series again. That was the book that got me ready for this year. I'm really looking forward to starting the Walsh Family series. Again, March was my birthday month, so I did buy a hell of a lot of books, and I got gifted quite a lot. And I unhauled quite a lot of my unread TBR. At the start of the year, I was really going through the unhauling off my unread TBR. I need to remember this March. But the problem with March is I went on the London Booktube meetup, which was brilliant, And I also went book shopping with Chris, and that will be happening. I don't know what we're doing, if there's any BookTube meetups in March, or if I'm going to, what I'm going to do for March this year. I may meet up with Kat if there's not a BookTube meetup, or if not, I may meet up with Kat in April. I might try and jiggle those around, because I would like to, but I tend to, March is when it starts getting warmer, so I can go out and go to places like London, and that's what I want to try and do again, because I do really enjoy doing that. So that's why March can be a bit, and normally I do go book shopping with Chris for my birthday. He's always really sweet like that. He will happily take me book shopping. Although September this year, I'm not making him go book shopping on his birthday. It's not fair on him. I will be nicer, I promise. So April, I like looking at this bit. April, I didn't get gifted as many, and I only unhauled one book on my TBR, but I bought 23. So that April I didn't gain too much or lose too much, so that was fine. April was the month that I read Brother This Night for the first time, which again smashed it out of the park. May, let's have a little look. I'm not going to get this video to be too long. May was another book where I didn't gain very many books. You could tell my book buying and book gifting went down like towards then. I only bought 24 and I gifted 7 and I unhauled only 2. So when I bought a lot, I think I unhauled more. I read Tomorrow, and I think it was a Raven Point. April was a very good reading month. May was a very good reading month, but that was also the month that, yeah, things started going a bit tits up. At the start of the year was, yeah, I'll talk about that in a bit. Why do I keep saying that? June, well, we all know June was a hard month. I bought 27 books. I was gifted 6, and I only unhauled 3. But I read Under the Whispering Door, and that went on my favourites. June was a hard month. July, I only bought 24, I was gifted 8, didn't unhaul any of my own TBR. Read Legends and Lattes, that was on my list. That was my favourite book of the month, and that was on my list. And Trouble was also, should have been mentioned. Yeah, Trouble was also my favourites. So again, July was a good reading month, very good reading month. We already know June was a good one. August, I bought more books because we were on holiday, so my holiday books were, and I was only gifted 4 again, so that's good. I'm grateful for anything I'm gifted. I don't expect to be gifted. I have the Amazon anonymous gifter who keeps buying me books. I can't thank you enough. I can't thank anyone who gives me books. I never expect them. I put that list there if anyone wants to. Never expect gifts. Always very, very grateful. That's something I'm bringing my kids up to be very grateful. And Neon Roses was one of my favourites, and that was on the list. Lady's Guide to Fortune Hunting. That wasn't on my list, but it was a book I really loved. I need to get the next one. September, well, the kids went back to school, so I bought 25. That's again, I was gifted 5. I only unhauled 2. So what's happened? That unhaul of my Unread TBR went right down. Considering at the start of the year I was unhauling quite a lot, that number went right down. I read Saving Neverland, which wasn't on the list, but that was a favourite. Trouble with Whisper on Her Ears, that was on my favourites. October was the crappiest reading month. I didn't buy many. I got gifted 8, so that was bloody good. So I'm very grateful. Again, I only unhauled 1. My favourite book was Cemetery Boys and Poor Miss Finch. Wilkie Collins does not disappoint. I've got a Wilkie Collins that I'm saving for this Victober because he is probably one of my favourite authors. Although what I've learned about him I don't like about as much. November was better reading month. Again, we all know November was my good reading month, my good book buying month. I only bought 16. I say only, and Ange was taking the mickey out of me for that because that's still quite a lot. But that was probably the month that I bought the least. I was gifted 6, and the favourite was on my favourites list. And then December was one of my best reading months, but it was the month that I gained. I bought 18, was gifted 18, and I didn't unhaul any. And 2 of the favourites on that month were my favourites for the year. So I ended the year on a right high. So that's the stats. Life, obviously, there's no point going on to it too much. At the start of the year, my mum had cancer, and that really impacted me. She had the cancer that killed my dad. She had bowel cancer. Apparently she's okay with talking about it. I was a bit not sure about talking about it, but mum's fine with me talking about it. So that happened right at the start of the year. Between January to, I think it was March or April, my mum had that, and we were really scared. She was been poorly for a while before that, and then we got the diagnosis. Luckily, they caught it in time that she had an operation to get rid of it, and she didn't need chemo or radio, and we are so grateful for that. And she's still now getting regularly checked. We believe she actually had it for longer than she did, longer than we knew, because she'd been poorly before that. They were also, when they were in the hospital that fixed her, did that. They also fixed her hernia, and basically they saved her life. And what makes me very grateful is the hospital that saved her life was the hospital that saved mine twice. It was a hospital near us, Frimley, and they saved both of us. And effectively they saved Thomas anyway, because one of the times they saved me was they saved Thomas. So that was the start of the year that was really hard, and we thought, oh my god, that was like one of the worst things ever. I think I was having gynae stuff happening even then, but it wasn't as bad. But that was one of the hardest things. Mum just about gets better, and then we lose Alice. And obviously, you can't define who was close. Like, our whole group got affected by that. And I don't care who says losing an online friend isn't losing a friend. For me, apart from my dad, it was the first time I've ever lost a friend. And I don't care what people say, online friends are not the same as your friends here. Yes, they are. My online community is, like, some of the girls and like the Waffle Girls and like Kat and things like that, the people like that, I don't know how many times I've met them to be how close they are. They're the people I talk to every day. They're the people that, you know, my mum was poorly. It was those friends that I probably opened up to more than I opened up to my friends here, because it was easier. So when I lost her, that was one of the shittiest things, and I'm forever grateful for her friendship. And I will always be grateful for the years I had Alice in my life, and she will always be a friend. So that was shitty. So what do I do when life is shitty? I read. And I comfort read, and I hide, and you will have noticed that I'm online a bit less at the moment. My mental health is something I'm working on. You don't just get over someone. You don't just get over grief. You don't just get over the fact that my mum had that. For me, I get hit by stuff after it all finishes. When it's all happening, I manage, I cope. I have 2 kids to look after. I have Chris, I have the cat, I have family. I have to make sure that, like, the people that I love are okay. And I don't necessarily, when things aren't tough, yes, me and my sisters, we were close, but when things were happening with Mum, we all ended up going off to different people to talk to, because we were all too much of a mess to talk to each other ourselves. So thank you all for your support. But yeah, that was why I read more last year. I know. Charlie handled it differently. She read less. I read more. Whatever way you handle stuff, you've got to do what you need to do to keep going. So fair dues. But there were some highs of last year, and I really don't want to end this video on a low note. I did get to see Alice at the start of the year. When we all had the London meetup, I saw Alice, and I saw all of those friends. I saw, like, all of the London meetups, and for Katie, I will always be grateful that she had arranged those, because I wouldn't have seen Alice and maybe not have seen her as much, or maybe not have seen any of them as much. So thank you to Katie for organising those. And that was a big highlight at the start of the year. I got to go to places like Marlow. I did get a lovely holiday with Chris. We're going back to Butlins this year. So thank you, Chris, for that. My kids have done me proud this year, that last year they really were rocks. And in their own little ways, I will be forever grateful for my family. My sisters, to going out shopping with Vicky, to going out shopping with Charlie, to doing stuff with my family and my friends. I'm forever grateful for those points, and those had some really big highlights. And I went to London on my own to meet up with Kat from Brews and Reviews. That was something that I never would have done even a year ago. It's thanks to Charlie giving me the strength to go with me to London BookTube meetups that I even had the strength to get on that flipping train. I challenged myself at the start of the year to go to Woking on my own, which is only the next town, but to get on a train on my own with my anxiety was something that I didn't think I would ever have done. So I did that. My online friends supported me doing that. And then to go out at the end of September to meet up with Kat, get on a train, on a busy flipping train, on my own, and met up with Kat was that's probably one of the best things of last year, was doing that and then having such a good time with my friend. Like, Kat is bloody, and I'm thinking, like, all of the Waffle Group, that you all know them, but Kat, I hope she watched this, and I'm going to nag her to watch it. But thank you, because last year with everything, with all the different things, it was hard to talk to the group, our group that lost. You know, there were points where I couldn't talk to anyone else, and Kat was literally the one that. When I found out my mum had cancer, Kat was probably one of the people I called. Kat and my surrogate sister, Hells. They were the two people I called. And without them, because I couldn't cry on my sister, couldn't tell the kids, I didn't tell the kids that my mum had cancer, because I didn't want them worrying. I think Mia found out a little bit. And with my own gynae stuff, I couldn't tell people. I didn't want to break down. And Kat was literally at the end of the phone. Whenever I needed her, she would. I could cry my eyes out, and I want to thank you for her. So I really was determined I wasn't going to cry. But thank you all for your support this last year. Thank you all for what a year 2024 was. It was probably one of the shittiest years ever. But we got through it, guys. We did it. Let's hope 2025 is a great year, and I hope it is. If you got to the end of the year, if you got to the end of the video, then it's a wrap up. It's 2024. Is this like a fairground ride? Because it has felt like, if there's a fairground ride emoji, leave a fairground ride emoji. Or like, I don't know. Leave an emoji that sums up your year. Was it a good year for you? Was it a bad year? Do a face emoji for whatever the year felt like for you. So if you had a really hard year, do a sad face. If you had a good year, do a happy face. Actually, yeah, sod it. Do a face emoji, do an emotion emoji. So if you had a good year, do a smiley face. If you had a bad year, do a good happy face. Kind of, you've got the little one with a medium bit if you had a medium year. So let me know. Let me know what your year was like. And yeah, just tell me what your year was like. If you're glad it's over, let's do it. Thank you all for your support in 2024. Let's hope 2025 is better. Bye. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you're new to my channel, ring on my ding-a-ling, and I'll see you all soon. Bye-bye.